When a cold comes creeping on of an evening, that first scratchy throat, that stuffy head, that achy, run-down feeling, most folks just resign themselves to a miserable week ahead. But my people have an old evening ritual, a way of tending a cold as it comes on, that can have you waking the next morning feeling far, far better than you'd any right to expect. And today I'm going to give you that whole old method, step by step, the way it was done for generations. But I'll be honest with you right at the very start, the way I always am, because that title deserves a straight and honest answer, and your trust matters more to me than any clever promise. No one can truly cure a cold overnight. Not me, not any doctor, not any remedy on earth. A cold has to run its course, and anyone who tells you different is selling you something. What this old method truly does is something better and more honest than a false promise. It eases the misery, and it gives your body every possible help to fight the cold hard through the night, so that you wake feeling greatly better, sometimes so much better it seems like a cure. So let me give it to you, honestly, exactly as it is. Let me explain first why the evening matters so much, why this is a nighttime ritual, because understanding it makes all the difference. When you sleep, your body does its deepest work of healing and fighting off sickness. Rest is the single most powerful medicine there is against a cold, and the long hours of a good night's sleep are when your body wages its hardest battle against the illness. So the whole idea of this old method is simple and wise. You take that first evening when the cold is coming on, and instead of pushing through and staying up and wearing yourself down, you do everything you possibly can to help your body fight through the night. You ease the misery so you can rest well. You give the body warmth and fluids and comfort, and you let it do its mighty overnight work uninterrupted. Catch the cold that very first evening, tend it right, and give your body a great night of fighting it, and you can turn the corner by morning in a way you never would by ignoring it and soldiering on. That's the whole secret. Not a magic cure, but the wise tending of that crucial first night. So let me walk you through the ritual, step by step, exactly as we do it. It begins in the early evening, at the very first signs, for the sooner you begin, the better it works. The first thing is a good hot bath or a hot soak. You draw a hot bath and you settle into it and let the warmth soak all the way through you, easing the aches, opening you up, and warming you deep. The steam of it helps your stuffy head besides. A good hot soak relaxes the body, comforts the aches, and readies you for rest. And it's a fine and simple beginning. The second thing is a warm, soothing drink, a hot tonic taken as the evening goes on. And here the old ways offer several good ones. The simplest and most soothing is honey and lemon in hot water, the honey coating and calming a raw throat, the warmth comforting the whole body. Or a good ginger tea, fresh ginger steeped in hot water, which warms you deep from the center out and is a friend to a body fighting a cold. Or a cup of any of the soothing herbal teas, chamomile to calm and help you rest, peppermint to clear the head, thyme long used for a cough. Some folks take a spoonful of honey with a bit of garlic, or an honest hot toddy of the old kind. Whatever you choose, a warm, soothing drink does several good things at once. It comforts, it soothes a raw throat, and most important, it keeps the fluids up in you, which matters more than folks realize when fighting a cold. For a well-watered body fights far better than a dry one. So sip your warm drinks through the evening and keep the water up. The third thing is to tend the stuffy head and chest before bed so you can breathe and rest. The steam is the great helper here. Lean over a bowl of hot water with a towel over your head and breathe in that warm, moist steam, and that loosens and eases the congestion wonderfully. Some folks add a bit of a strong herb to the water for the vapors. The old chest rubs, the warming salves rubbed on the chest at bedtime help open the breathing and comfort besides. And keeping the air in your room from going too dry helps you breathe easier through the night. Do this before bed, and you'll rest far better for being able to breathe. The fourth thing is a spoonful of honey right at bedtime, and this one is worth its weight in gold, for it's one of the most soothing things there is for a cold, and even the doctors will tell you honey truly does calm a cough and a raw throat. A good spoonful of plain honey as you head to bed coats and soothes that irritated throat and can quiet the cough that would otherwise keep you up. And a quiet throat means a better night's sleep, and better sleep means a stronger fight. So take your spoonful of honey at bedtime. And the fifth thing, the most important of all, is to get yourself warm and to bed early for a long, deep, restful night. This is the heart of the whole method, the thing all the rest is in service of. You get warm, good and warm, for warmth comforts the body and helps it fight. You make your bed cozy, warm the sheets if you can, with a warm stone or a bottle, pile on the covers. Some of the old folks believed in sweating a cold out, bundling up warm in bed to sweat through the night, and there's an old comfort in that, though the real point is simply to be warm and cozy and deeply at rest. And then you sleep long and deep, and you let your body do its great overnight work of fighting the cold, uninterrupted, all through the night. Early to bed, warm and cozy, throat soothed, head eased, well watered and comforted, sleeping long and deep. That's the crucial thing, and everything else has been leading to it. Let me add a few more of the good old comforts that fit right into this evening ritual, for they all help. There's the saltwater gargle, an old standby and a truly good one. A good pinch of salt, stirred into warm water, gargled and spat out, which genuinely soothes a sore throat, and even the doctors will tell you to do it. Gargle a few times through the evening, and it eases that raw throat a great deal. There's the hot broth or soup, and this deserves its own word, for a bowl of hot broth of an evening is one of the finest things for a cold there is. The old chicken broth that folks have turned to for the ailing across so many lands and so many years truly does comfort and nourish and hydrate all at once, warm and easy on the stomach, gentle and restoring. So a bowl of hot soup or broth in the evening is a lovely part of the ritual, warming you, feeding you gently, and keeping the fluids up. And there's simply the keeping warm all evening, wrapped in a warm blanket, feet warm, cozy and comforted, for the body fights better warm than chilled. Let me press a little harder on why the rest and sleep matter so much, because it truly is the heart of the whole thing, and I want you to believe it deep down. When you sleep, your body pours its energy into fighting the illness, unhindered by all the demands of your waking day. A body that's up and about, working, stressed, tired, is a body divided, spending its strength on 100 things instead of on the healing. But a body at rest, warm and comfortable and deeply asleep, can throw its whole strength into the fight. This is why the cold that you push through, staying up late, soldiering on, dragging yourself about, so often drags on for a week or more and gets worse, while the cold you meet with early rest and good care so often breaks quickly. You're either fighting with your body or against it. Rest is fighting with it, and there is simply no medicine, none, that can match the healing power of a body given deep, warm, comfortable rest to do its work. The old folks knew this in their bones. They knew that to rest a cold was to beat it, and to push through a cold was to feed it. So the whole method, all the baths and tonics and honey and steam, is really in service of that one great medicine, a good, long, healing night's sleep. Everything else just eases the misery enough to let that great healing rest do its work. I remember how my grandmother tended us when a cold came on, and it was exactly this old ritual, done with such love that being sick almost felt like a gift. At the first sniffle of an evening, she'd have the kettle going and a hot bath drawn. She'd press a mug of hot honey and lemon into my hands and set a bowl of her broth before me and have me breathe the steam. She'd rub something warming on my chest and warm the bed with a stone wrapped in cloth and tuck me in early under a great pile of quilts with a last spoonful of honey. And there was such comfort in it, such warmth and care, that I'd drift off feeling safe and tended and cozy, and more often than not, I'd wake the next morning feeling so much better it was as if the cold had thought better of it and gone. She never claimed to cure anything. She just tended us, warmly and wisely, the old way, and gave our bodies every help to heal, and it worked wonders, again and again, year after year. That's the ritual I'm handing to you, and the love and care that ought to go with it. For the care is as much the medicine as anything. And let me give you one honest word about catching it early, for it's the one part of this that folks most often get wrong. This method works best, far best, when you begin it at the very first signs, that first scratch of the throat, that first tired, achy hint, that first bit of stuffiness. That's the moment to act, that very first evening, before the cold has taken firm hold. Most folks ignore those first signs, push on, tell themselves it's nothing, stay up late, wear themselves down, and by the time they finally rest, the cold has dug in deep and there's a long week ahead. But catch it that first evening, the moment you feel it coming, and give your body that great early night of fighting it, and you give yourself the very best chance of turning it back quickly. So learn to heed those first signs, and when you feel a cold coming on of an evening, don't push through. Stop and tend it that very night. The early tending is half the whole battle. Now let me be the honest, caring neighbor with you, seriously, because your health and your family's health is nothing to be careless with, and I promised you honesty. Let me say plainly again, this method does not cure a cold overnight, because nothing does. What it does is ease the misery and give your body its very best chance to fight hard through the night, so you wake feeling greatly improved. Often, tended this way that first evening, a cold that would have flattened you for a week is knocked back so hard that you wake feeling nearly yourself, and that's a wonderful thing. But it's the wise tending of the body, not magic, and I'll never pretend otherwise. And this method is for the ordinary cold, the common cold, the everyday scratchy throat and stuffy head and run-down feeling. It is not for the serious things, and I would be doing you a great wrong to let you think otherwise. A high fever that climbs and won't come down, real trouble breathing, a sickness that drags on or keeps getting worse instead of better, sharp or severe pain, a cough that brings up blood, anything that frightens you or seems beyond the ordinary run of a cold. Those are not for hot baths and honey. Those are for a real doctor, and you go and you don't wait. The old comforts are for the small, everyday illnesses. The doctor is for the serious ones. A wise soul knows the difference and uses both, each in its proper place. A few more honest cautions. The honey, remember, is only for grown folks and children over a year old, never for a baby under 1, for honey is not safe for the littlest ones in any form. If you take other medicines or have an ongoing condition, some strong herbal remedies can mix poorly with certain medicines. So have a word with your doctor or pharmacist before dosing yourself with strong herbal things, though the plain honey and the warm tea and the hot bath are gentle as can be. And if you're minded to try the old sweating it out, don't overdo it. Don't let yourself get overheated or dangerously hot. Keep it to a comfortable, cozy warmth, and keep drinking your fluids, for a body can't afford to dry out. Be sensible, and when in doubt, Ask someone who knows your health. With all that said, honestly, let me tell you why I so believe in this old way of tending a cold, beyond the easing of a single miserable night. Because underneath it is a truth the modern world has near forgotten, a truth about how healing really works. We've come to believe that when we get sick, we reach for a pill or a bottle to make the symptoms go away so we can keep pushing on, keep working, keep going, never stopping. But that's backwards, and it's why so many folks stay sick so long and get so much sicker than they need to. The old way understood that when the body is fighting an illness, the wisest thing you can do is stop, rest, and help it fight, not push through and wear it down. The whole old method is really just the wisdom of stopping, of listening to your body, of giving it the rest and warmth and comfort and care it needs to do its own healing work. And that wisdom is worth more than any bottle. The body is a marvel, and given rest and warmth and fluids and comfort, it will heal itself of most ordinary illness with astonishing power. All these old comforts do is support that healing and ease the misery while the body does its work. That's the real secret, honoring the body's own healing rather than fighting against it. And there's something deeper still, the simple human comfort of being cared for. There is a healing in the warm bath drawn for you, the hot tonic pressed into your hands, the warmed bed, the gentle care of someone who loves you that goes beyond the body. To be tended when you're ailing, cared for, comforted, is itself a kind of medicine, the oldest and gentlest there is. When you tend yourself this way, or tend a loved one this way, you're giving not just remedies, but care, and care itself heals. That's a thing no pill can ever give, and it's a big part of why this old evening ritual works such wonders. It's not just the honey and the steam, it's the whole comforting, caring, restful tending of a body that needs to heal. And let me tell you what to do the next morning, for the tending doesn't end when you wake. And this is where folks often undo all their good work. You'll very likely wake feeling greatly better, and the temptation then is to declare yourself cured and rush straight back into everything at full pace. Don't. That's how a cold that was nearly beaten comes roaring back. If you can, take that next day gently too. Keep up the warm drinks and the fluids and the honey. Rest when you can. Ease back into things slowly, rather than flinging yourself into a hard day. Give your body a little more grace to finish the job it did such good work on through the night. The cold isn't quite gone, even if you feel much better, so treat yourself kindly a day or two more, and you'll be truly over it, rather than knocked back down. The old folks knew that the recovering body wants gentleness, not to be flung straight back into the harness, and the day of taking it easy after a bad night saves you a relapse. So wake grateful for feeling better, but be kind to yourself a little longer, and let the healing finish. And here's a broader piece of that same wisdom, worth carrying beyond any single cold. The old way understood that a body must sometimes be allowed to stop, that there's no shame and no weakness in resting when you're ill, that pushing on, sick and exhausted, is not strength, but foolishness that costs you dearly in the end. The modern world has near lost this, priding itself on soldiering through, on never stopping, on medicating the symptoms away so as to keep grinding on regardless. And folks are the sicker and the wearier for it. There is a deep and simple wisdom in honoring your body's need to rest and heal, in stopping when you must, in not being ashamed to take to your bed with a bad cold and let yourself be tended. Learn that, and you'll not only weather your colds far better, you'll live healthier and wiser all around. The body speaks if we'll listen. And one of the clearest things it ever says is, I need to rest now. The old way listened. The wise soul still does. So here is what I'd leave you with. The next time you feel a cold coming on of an evening, don't just resign yourself to a miserable week and push on through. Try the old way instead. Catch it that first evening. Draw the hot bath and soak deep. Sip the warm honey and lemon, the ginger tea, and keep the fluids up. Ease your head with the steam. Comfort your chest. Take your spoonful of honey at bedtime. And get yourself warm and cozy into bed early for a long, deep, healing night's sleep, and let your body do its mighty work. I can't promise you'll wake cured, for no one can honestly promise that. But I can tell you that tended this way, you'll ease the misery greatly. You'll give your body its very best chance, and you'll very likely wake feeling far, far better than you would have otherwise. Sometimes so much better, it near feels like a cure. And you'll have honored your body's own healing in the wise old way and cared for yourself the way our people have cared for their own for generations. If this is the kind of gentle, honest, old wisdom you've been hungry for, the kind that got quietly set aside and forgotten, then stay here with me. There's so much more where this came from, and I aim to bring it back to you, one piece at a time, always honest, always with care. Subscribe, and we'll keep remembering the old ways together, because some of the most precious things we ever knew are the simple, kindly ones we let ourselves forget. And the wise, caring tending of a body that needs to heal is surely one of them. And remember, this is a gentle topic, and if you're troubled by more than an ordinary cold or worried about your health in any way, please do reach out to a doctor or someone who can truly help you, for that's the wisest old way of all.